Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Bill Allen, sitting in from Winston Chester. We have a great show lined up for you today. Got Greg coming in. We're going to talk about how we caught those fish yesterday. Got some great pictures some of you guys have sent me, so it should be interesting. Let's first look at the weather brought to us by Haney. Today is October the 30th, Wednesday. We've got a 50% chance of rain, southwest winds 5 to 15 miles an hour. Tides are 9:34 this morning is the low, with a high at 11 p.m. Apalachicola at Bluntstown is still right about 3 feet and steady for a little while, and Choctawhatchee at Caryville is 1.7, and it's probably going to be going up with some of this local rain. And peak times brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn are this afternoon at 2:51 to 4:51 p.m., which is perfect if you can get out there. It should be very high fish activity, and with the tidal coefficient of 91 means we got the strong tides starting today for the next 3 or 4 days. So we're going to take this quick break and come back. Hey, welcome back. I'm joined again by Brother Brudnicki here, and we did get the memo on the shirts. Don't adjust your TVs. These are actually the color they are. Wanted to start off with some pictures. Deer season is upon us this past weekend, archery season, and the first two are pictures of Dalton, my youngest son. That took his first 2 deer with a bow. He hadn't been hunting very long. Killed one Saturday morning, one Sunday morning. And then the next picture is me getting in on the act late Wednesday afternoon. It was beautiful out there, still a little bit hot, but they're moving around well. Now, I wanted to bring up too that, now you have to report to the FWC the deer that you've killed. You're supposed to do it within 24 hours of the kill. And so Dalton and I both went online separately to myfwc.com. Which is the easiest way to do it. Click on the hunting part, and it comes up to, report or harvest deer. And when you click on that, it takes you to a form that you fill out. Your name, your license ID number. You need to have your license with you. You can look it up if you don't. The region, the area where you killed the deer, and then some information about the deer, and then you get a confirmation number once you do that. So I was curious as to how that was going to work and how long, but it was very easy. Look, I did it without Dalton there, so it was very easy to do.
Had to be.
And but it is the law now, and so within 24 hours of the kill, you're supposed to report that, but the FWC's made it very easy to do. You can print out a form, you can do other things, but this is a good way to do it. So going on with that, from that, I've got there's a couple of pictures here of yours truly there with that big trout and one of those big reds that you picked up. So some of the still pictures from yesterday and the trip before, and then a friend of ours, Harvey Hollingsworth, sent me some pictures of some really small trout that he caught. I mean, they some studs.
There's one real slob in there. That was quite a fish.
Yeah, he fishes with another friend of ours a lot.
Yeah, with Tim Fontaine.
Yeah.
So they know where to go. They know where to get their bait, and they're meat fishermen though.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously they are, and they primarily live bait fish, right?
Yes.
Where, hey, whatever way you like to catch them, I mean, we prefer to use artificials, which in these next 2 segments we're going to talk about in detail, and we've got some stuff here to show you. And then also couple of weeks ago, I was down in Tampa on some business, and then with a friend of mine and a colleague, Steve Nordbeck, that's down there, had arranged a snook trip for me. And Donna went as well, and we filmed the whole show with the young guide down there who did a tremendous job. And as soon as Mrs. Chester has completed her work on that, editing the camera work, we'll have that to show you. But I wanted to throw in a picture of my first snook ever, which I was reminded that it was by far not the largest snook caught between the two of us. And
Right.
And then also Donna put the camera down and got into the act, and she picked up a couple of nice reds. But you know, that was a lot of fun. That's coming up, and it's October. I mean, there's a lot going on. We're near the end, but the weather's been kind of unseasonably off the average, and so it should be into November. We should do really well.
Hopefully, yeah. You know, you want consistency, but we've been very pleased the last couple of times we went out, and there's nobody fishing, so
Yeah.
and we were going at some, not odd times, but sometimes you got to brave the wind, and it's but did well.
Yeah,
I was
did very well.
Very pleased.
Did very well. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and take this first break, and then we're going to come back with some of the tips and the tactics and show you the things that we were using on those yesterday's clips. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's start with the second trip first. I mean, almost every time, unless the conditions prevent it, we start with topwater and then move into whatever the conditions provide for us. But especially on that second trip where we caught so many fish, we're fishing these Paul Browns. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I mean, Greg, we got several here to show you, but they're I think one of the biggest things about these is they're a soft bait. When they bite, they don't feel the hard on it, but it's it's got to taste like the real thing.
I guess so. It looks like the real thing, and it's all about how you work it. Those baits we seem to get more fish off of those baits now. This is I believe like a Miradine, which is a suspended bait that basically works the same way. It's harder, it's tougher, it's harder to, this one will not get destroyed as soon as that one does, but we've caught a lot of fish on these, and I was catching them on this the other day. The Paul Brown and when we say Paul Brown, he's the one that owns, I believe, this company.
Yeah,
so
Mirror Lures has taken it over.
Yeah, so
Paul Brown designed this, and that's what it's called.
Right, and so these particular ones, when these get hit enough, what happens to them is this happens.
That was a particularly good day.
Yeah, that didn't get caught in a car door. This is from a good sized redfish. Just absolutely destroying it, and when he's going one way and you're pulling the other, and it tore it up. So they're very trout don't seem to tear them up as fast as a red does, but the bigger fish, the more weight, he's going one way, you're pulling the other, and they will self-destruct.
But they're very durable. We're talking about how many fish caught on that.
Yeah. I mean,
they last a very long time.
I'll usually break one off before it gets like that.
Right.
And so there's different styles. This is the same bait, except they call this a fat boy, and they call it a fat boy because it's got a little gut on it. And they are, you can throw them a little bit further, and they're just as effective, if not more effective. And it's a bait that we've been using, I guess, ever since they came out, and it's just one that I highly recommend. And the colors go by just like you do with the amount of sun and all that stuff. But the other day, it really didn't matter what color we threw.
No.
The smaller Meridian, this little one here, is effective. You do not have the swing weight, so when you go to cast it, and always when you're fishing, artificials, you want to make as long a cast as you can because you want to be further away from the boat, less noise, less spooking, especially when you're around big fish. I mean, they're
in skinny water,
and skinny water, because you're moving, your trolling motor's moving, and you're doing stuff in your shadows and all that. You will not be able to throw this as far. This is very effective. Probably got to throw downwind to use them, or have light enough tackle that you can whip it, but then you don't want it too light because you'll get broken off. So those are very good. This is another one that we use. That's one of the soft baits. It's got a little bit different action, and these are what they refer to as suspended baits, which means they will go down, 18 to 20 inches down the water, and they actually suspend. They won't go down in the grass, but what happens is you will throw, and you'll jerk them, and when you jerk it, it comes up. And then most of the time,
yes,
you get that hit when it's dropping back down. If you keep jerking it, it comes out of the water, okay? So you gotta, when it comes up, you want it to settle back down. And as it comes down, if you've attracted one, they will come up and hammer it. So,
almost all those fish were caught in all of them were caught in less than 2 feet of water. Yeah. And most of them about 18 inches. Now, it can be a little aggravating because, especially this time of year, some of that grass is starting to die, and with these big tides moving it, and you're going to come up with, a pound of grass on it. But, it certainly stays in the column long enough after you make that cast. Now, I'm using the 13 fishing rods, and so I'm throwing these on a 7'4" medium action with a fast tip. And Greg's you're throwing the Terramar rods, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and the fast tip.
And those St. Croix. So.
Yeah, and those St. Croix, true. But part of the key to it, a long rod like that's going to throw a light bait further, and when you have that the fast tip, you can really put that action to it. Mm-hmm. Two or three jerks, and let it settle for just a second, and it's like the biggest one I caught. And there's no question what happened when that was sitting there. That fish came from behind, engulfed that entire thing, mm-hmm. and then was swimming at me. He didn't know that he was hooked, or that for probably 15 yards, yeah. And then came alive. But you didn't see it the other day. I was able to get some of those out, but these D-hookers like this save a lot of fish. And when the way these things are ferocious when they hit, they get down in the crushers, they get in some bad spots. This is an excellent tool to have. I keep it in a bag all the time to be able to try to do as little damage as possible, because we release them all, redfish, and so it's you want to try to take care of them as much as you can. But now these as well, we're using about a 15-pound fluorocarbon on it, 10 or 15 pound, depending on how I'm feeling that day. It allows it to swim better. And then also, I've had a lot of people ask about, you can be the bait today, about this loop. Now, tying a loop knot allows the action on these to work a lot better. And I know that this is probably oversimplified, and Jeff, I don't know how good you can get this, but it's very simple. What you want to do with your fluorocarbon is just make a loop, okay? It goes through the eye, back through the loop, and then you can adjust it for size. And you come right on top of that with just a simple knot like that. Now that loop is not going to slip. I know that it doesn't look like it's going to withstand. You can take the entire tag end off, which I hate tag ends. I think it looks sloppy. You take that whole tag end off, and that loop is not going to collapse on you. And this knot is 100% line strength, so you don't lose anything. It's simple. I put it on everything that swims. You know, I will occasionally do it when I'm bouncing those gulp around. I'm not so concerned about that. But any kind of swim bait, you know, if I'm just using a regular DOA head and a swim tail or something when we're trout fishing, it's going to swim better, and especially using it on these. So, you know, Ken Thomas calling me after this, he says, "Can you show that again? I don't think I got it." And I saw him actually yesterday afternoon, and we talked about it. So, you know, Ken, you're not the only one, but that's simple and it works. All those big fish were caught on this knot, and they haven't given up. And I got that from Captain Michael Cowart, and I didn't believe him either when he told me about it, but that's what I use. So we're going to go ahead and take this break, come back in a moment. All right, welcome back. Now, before we get started back on this, I was negligent in not showing these pictures of my oldest grandson, Gavin, who is 16, and he accompanied me to my, you know, trout fishing trip to the mountains about 3 weeks ago. And first time he's been, and he had practiced real hard behind his house with the fly rod that I'd given him, and we got out there. And he did a really good job for the first time. We had a great trip. I did not take a whole lot of pictures, but my brother-in-law Cliff and his son Tyler joined us with a small group. So he's got about a 13-inch brown trout there that he caught for his first one. And of course, we put him right to work cleaning it. But those pictures are just some from that trip. We had a great time. He did a super job. I'm real proud of him. And I got 2 more grandsons to take as soon as they can. That water's rough up there, and it gets kind of dangerous. You got to be big enough to withstand it. So, good job, Gavin, and keep practicing. We're going to go plenty of time. So, back to you, as they say.
All right, real quick. We want to, when you're using, you know, Power Pro, you need to have at least 18 to 24-inch piece of fluorocarbon tied to that when you're fishing with lures. Especially if you're bass fishing. Most bass fishermen, they'll use the straight Power Pro right to the, they don't want any stretch. But when you're catching trout and redfish, most saltwater flats fish, you need that fluorocarbon will stretch a little bit. And when you're fishing these particular lures, or any particular lure, I've been doing it since I was, 9 years old, when you're working it and you get the hit, you do not have to cross his eyes. You know, some people think, boom, I gotta set that hook. Believe me. I mean, no, you don't, but I'm saying there's a lot of people that do. And these hooks, believe me, I put 4 in my hand last year, just bumping them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we had to dig them out. I had to dig 3 out of his hand. They're sharp.
Thanks for mentioning that.
When he grabs it, or she grabs it, you know, you just got that twitch, and he's hooked. Yeah. And how often do we lose one on the way in? 1 out of 15 or 20. So, especially, you know, redfish, their lips are real tough and stuff, but trout, their mouths are weak, and you really don't want to rip the stew out of them. So, just.
That is a good point.
Yep.
The fluorocarbon for the stretch, if you're going to swim it, you want to go lighter with it, but really you don't really need more than 15 pounds. And when I'm bouncing that gulp around, you know, throwing it in the weeds, you know, I'm rarely going to get over a 15-pound test on that. You just don't need it. You lose too much action when you get into some of that heavier stuff, unless, you know, you're in Louisiana or somewhere where there's a lot of oysters and those kind of things. And I also wanted to mention, I'm going to show you how I rig these gulp, but and we've had this happen to us. These new reels, like mine are the 13 fishing, Greg are fishing the Stratics. But when you open that bail to cast, if you open and the bail is up, these are so sensitive that you sling that out there, that bail's going to shut, and that sudden stop is going to jerk, and you're going to lose that, because I guarantee you that Power Pro is going to snap on you. So you always want to get your spool to the top under your fingers and push it down. Even at that, it goes sometimes. So this is a great personal sacrifice because I haven't had breakfast yet. But I'm gonna pull these gulp out, and I transfer them to this supposedly leak-proof box. But and show you now. I know, Jeff, I don't know how close you can get, or if I need to hold it right here. You know, I prefer these Captain mics. They come in different weights, different hook sizes, depending on where you're fishing. But you know, and they have the bait keepers on them. Okay, so what I do, and I always keep these little scissors in here, and I wish I had some gloves, but you want to take that tail off, you know, right at the end. The smaller you do it, the less problem you're going to have with picking up grass and stuff. But so you get it started on the keeper. Take it right up to the hilt with the bottom part down. And you know, if you want to figure out where to put your hook, just lay it up against there. You know, you don't want to, you want this as straight as possible. So, and of course it won't work right now, but I run it up where it's literally just sitting on top. So the bait is straight. Now the biggest thing about this is there you go. I mean, it's just laying there on top. And he will grab it. This is soft. And then you bury it in him. That's where I do have kind of a big hook set. But this is straight, there's no bows in it, the weight's on the bottom. Now when you throw this is aerodynamic. All right, you can sling this thing a mile. If you put the hook through the other end, it's gonna tumble on you. So this gives you that all-important, extremely long cast, but also when you pull it, it's backwards. Mm-hmm. Shrimp move backwards, okay? Mm-hmm. So I throw this as far as I can. That fast tip, you know, lift it 2 or 3 times, take up the slack, lift it 2 or 3 times. You'll feel them pick it up. Pull up your slack, and then as you start to feel them, you know, then you can hammer them and the fight is on. But that is that, and I many years ago talked about this, but this is what I use, and obviously very effective. So. And very aerodynamic. Well, we're out of time, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. I know we enjoyed it, and I appreciate you coming in, all right?
Absolutely.
Thank you, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.